Hello, everybody. My name is Andrea, as just said. And before to tell you about my stories and what Freeda is for me and for us, I'd like to start on the relationship and how the relationship between the new generation of consumer and the brands are changing today. So, traditionally, brands base their model on three main pillars. The first one is a top-down approach. So they speak and we listen. The second pillar is push advertising models. So they interrupt ourselves every day with messages and communication that probably 99% of the time don't interest us. So it's something that we can also skip. And the third one is people are target. So target remind me more about hunting compared to communicating. And so we are now defining target. What has changed from our point of view? The new generation of consumers are changing drastically the relationship with brand, and we are also millennials and Gen Z, the biggest generation nowadays. So we account for 4.7 billion people. So we are not only the youngest, but we are also the bigger already this year. Secondly, by 2020, so in 2 years' time, millennials and Gen Z will be also the richest. In this moment, there's the biggest transgenerational wealth intergenerational transfer ever of wealth to millennials. Millennials will account for 24 trillion by 2020. We want brands that embody our value. We want brands that represent our value, and we want brands that listen to us. 80% of us, in fact, agree that we have more power than ever. We have more power than ever in the relationship with them. 80%, again, prefer to buy from a brand who actually share our value. And close to 80%, we are willing to share data, we are willing to share information because we believe that the experience and the product will be better. So if we believe that that will be better, we are ready to share our data and information. We want also brands who actually embrace activism, and we want brands who embrace advocacy. And 61% of us, so 6 out of 10, believe that nowadays brands are better positioned to embrace social causes compared to institution and organization. What we believe, what we stand for transgender rights, 74% of us. We stand for same-sex marriages, 73% of us. And we stand for women causes and feminists, 63% of us. We also want to seek and find independence and purpose. In fact, 58% say that finding a purpose in life is a sign of success, and it's even more important compared to many other aspects that before were more relevant. 68% prefer to start something from scratch, something that really represents himself or herself, instead of going to work for big corporations. So this is a dramatic and important change also for businesses and for future ideas. We don't want also to be defined. We don't want to be clusterized. We don't want to be target. In fact, 40% agree that gender is not anymore important as it was in the past to define ourselves. It's much more about personality, identity, who we really are instead of gender. And 55% prefer to use gender-neutral pronouns like they and ze instead of he and she. And this is another important change that is happening right now. In addition to it, we spend more and more time on social and on digital. If you think about the 11 hours that we spend every day across media, 50% are spent on digital, and 1/3 of this is spent on social media. These platforms are becoming more and more important also as a source of information, a source of news. So 37% of us state and declare that they are the primary source of information. We hope good information. And another important thing is that social media became, in the last 5 years, the most important driver of influence when we buy a product and when we decide which brand to follow and which brand to acquire from. Another important thing, all of this is bringing us to seek new kind of relationship with brand. At the beginning of digital, we were target, as I mentioned at the beginning. Then, later on, we became audience, we became profile audience. So they started listening to us, they started understanding something more about us in order to target us in a better way. Nowadays, we are community. Nowadays, we are community and we influence more and more the communication with the brand, and we have much more power in our hands. Look at this example. These are two of the most relevant and iconic brands, Chanel on one side and Valentino on the other. And those numbers are the number of the contents that they produce during a specific period of time. So 700 for Chanel and close to 5,000 for Valentino. And now I'm going to show you the number of content published with products and brands of Chanel and Valentino by us, consumer, in the same period of time. 48 million for Chanel and 24 million for Valentino. This is super important to understand how much power we have in our hand. We are the media, we are the communicator today, not the brand. And we believe at Freeda that the real social changer of today is women. Why? Because in Italy, for example, every 100 men every year who get a degree, there are 140 women who get a degree, 40% more. Try to imagine the kind of impact that this can have in the coming years. Women today, millennial women, are already responsible for over 800 billion of expenditure every year, so a huge amount of capital and money that goes into economy. If we are good all together and we reduce the gender gap by 25%, we're going to add more than 5 trillion to global economy in the coming years. So another big and huge amount of money that can throw into economy. And last but not least, following BCG consultants, by 2028 women will found, control and own 1/3 of businesses. Try to imagine how many new ideas, how much energy can enter into economy thanks to this new world that is happening now. So, what's our mission in life? What we decided to embrace a couple of years ago, we decided to be on a mission to build the most relevant and authentic media brand for women and for the new generation of women around the world, called Freeda. Our mission is to spread real women's story to inspire positive change. So we don't want only to represent this new generation in a much more authentic and relevant way. We want also to impact society at large and to move society forward together with our community. These are the values that we stand for: woman achievement, personal style, and global sisterhood. What does it mean for us, woman achievement? It means to tell every day great women's story in order to inspire our audience with positive example, authentic story like the one of Fiorenza. She was the first woman who drove an airplane in Italy and in Europe when men thought that women could not drive an airplane for cognitive conditions. So she really turned upside down, something relevant. Maria Grazia, she's the first female creative director of Dior, one of the most important brands in the world, and she is using the Dior platform in order again to spread positive and relevant messages. And then Veronica, she is a fantastic Paralympic athlete that defined her scarf. She said, during the video, she said, "My scarf, my disease, define my personality, define who I am and what I stand for." Personal style for us substantially means that you can be as you wish without the fear of being judged. So we really try to celebrate people of different culture, different religions, different colors. One great example is Arnan. She was also an amazing speaker at TED. And she was diagnosed when she was young a disease, a terrible disease. And one of the consequences of this disease is that on her face, she has facial hairs that grow more than the average. So it's a problem at the beginning when you're young. Try to imagine how much she was beat and bullied by the people at school. But instead of closing herself, instead of renouncing, she decided to fight. She decided to speak out loudly. And she became one of the most famous body activists, models, and anti-bullying activists in the world, spreading messages and positive messages to hundreds of women and men around the world. And the third value for us is sisterhood. For us, sisterhood means collaboration, so to create a positive environment where different people can meet each other and improve each other. This is an example of last week. We published a story of Vanya. She's a woman who suffers of endometriosis, a common disease. 1 woman out of 10 suffer of endometriosis, but they don't speak about it. And we told her stories, and in less than 1 day, over 1,000 women who suffer also from endometriosis decided to share their message, decided to share their story in order to help other women that are suffering of endometriosis. We also generate meaningful conversation more and more. So for example, last week we launched a smaller community, this private group called Love Guide, which mission is to help people understanding how to face relationship, how to face sexual problem. And in less than 1 day, more than 3,000 women joined the group and starting helping each other, because this is the role of this group. They started conversating between each other and helping each other on different problems that life presents you. We want also to have real impact. So for example, a couple of years ago, during a very important and dramatic in a certain day, which is the day against violence and abuse on women, we published this content and we created this content telling the stories of 6 women that went through this terrible situation in life. And they were so spontaneous, so authentic, that this video reached 9 million people in a week, with close to 1 million comments, again, of people sharing their story, helping to spread the message in order to change society and to help the people that are suffering this problem, this dramatic problem, to speak out loudly about it. Last but not least, for sure, also men are part of the equation. This week, for Father's Day, we published the story, we created the story of, about Luca. Luca is a man. He is gay, he is Catholic, and he would like to have a family. So he decided to adopt Alba, who is a young, fantastic kid with the Down syndrome, who were already refused by different families, and he decided that will be his family. And they created this fantastic family, which we shall celebrate, and we want to celebrate as much as the traditional family that we are used to. So, what are for us the most relevant aspects if you want to build a brand today, if you want to speak authentically with people? First of all, it's starting by people, being human inspired, listen to people and translate those information into your product, into your brand, into your solution. The second aspect is, if you want to target people, if you want to communicate with people and market people, you have to co-create that communication together with people. Because as we have been seeing with Chanel and Valentino, people is more and more important into communication and branding. And last, you have to present what you're doing and your company actually where these people and this new generation spend most of their time, which is social media today, and maybe in the future will be something different. But nowadays it's social media. Let me close with a quote that I particularly appreciate by Virgil Abloh. I don't know if all of you know him, but he is a real innovator into fashion, culture, and art of today. And what he said is, when creativity melts together with global issues, I believe you can bring the world together. Actually at Freeda, but not only at Freeda, we believe that through creativity, embracing global issues, we together can bring the world together. Thank you very much.